This seminar is for educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Consult with your medical provider for medical advice or treatment. Although the presenters try to keep the information in this seminar as accurate and timely as possible, the speakers and Mather Hospital assume no duty to ensure the seminar is error-free. The speakers and Mather Hospital are not responsible or liable for any claim, loss, or damage resulting from you viewing this seminar.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for our Healthy webinar series. Today's webinar is encouraging a healthy body image. At any time during the presentation, please feel free to enter any questions you may have using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. We'll answer as many as we can within the time allotted once the presentation concludes, and your questions will remain anonymous. Today's presenter is Danielle Johnson. Danielle is a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and registered yoga teacher. She attended LIU Post for her bachelor's degree and advanced training in dietetics, and is currently earning her master's degree in integrative nutrition at Stony Brook University. Danielle has been working at the Bariatric Center of Excellence at Mather Hospital since September of 2018. She's passionate about building healthy relationships with food, body image, and exercise through mindfulness. Danielle, you can go ahead and get us started.
All right, well, thank you for introducing me. All right, next slide, thank you. Okay, so what is body image? It's the way that a person experiences their own embodiment, which is a sense of being in the body. So this includes our thoughts, our beliefs, our perceptions, our feelings, and our actions. And just to give a little example of how those could all affect each other, let's say you stepped on the scale this morning and you're up 2 pounds. But how could you be up by 2 pounds? You've been doing everything right, you're eating healthy, you're exercising, drinking your water. But after seeing those 2 pounds, you think to yourself, this is awful. I tried so hard, but clearly not hard enough. I'm hopeless. So that right there is your thought. Then maybe you're just feeling very down about yourself, feeling ashamed, disappointed, and upset. Those are going to be your feelings. Then you might look in the mirror and start to notice everything that's quote unquote wrong with you. It's going to be your perception. Then maybe you make a plan for the day. Maybe that plan is skipping breakfast and lunch, having a small dinner, going for a run, then going to the gym. Those would be your actions. And then after making your plan, you think to yourself, all right, if I keep doing this, then I will be better. And those are going to be your beliefs. Next slide. Some statistics regarding body image. One study reports that at age 13, 53% of American girls are unhappy with their bodies, and this grows to 78% by the time girls reach age 17. 50% of teens are self-conscious about their bodies. 26.2% of them report being dissatisfied. By age 60, 28.7% of women feel dissatisfied and 32.6% feel self-conscious about their bodies. 45% of teens report considering cosmetic surgery. 43% of women over 60 report considering cosmetic surgery. When asked, are you happy with your body? 43% of teens answer yes, which means more than half of them are saying they're unhappy with their body. And 37% of women in their 60s answered yes, meaning even more than half than women over 60 are unhappy with their bodies. 40 to 60% of elementary school girls are concerned about their weight or becoming too fat. Majority of girls, 59% of them, report dissatisfaction with their body shape. 66% express the desire to lose weight. 46% of 9 to 11-year-olds are sometimes or very often on diets, and 82% of their families are sometimes or very often on diets. And then the last statistic found that 70% of college women say they feel worse about their own looks after reading women's magazines. So it just goes to show that body image, issues with our body image can start at a very young age, as young as 9 years old, and it can affect us throughout the rest of our lives up until our 60s or older. And especially if those issues stem from childhood, we're going to struggle much longer if we don't address those issues. Next slide. So different types of body image. It's not as black and white as you might think. It's not that negative and positive are exactly opposite of each other. And research has shown that positive body image is not the direct mirror opposite of negative body image. Individuals with positive body image are often not satisfied completely with their bodies, but nevertheless, they appreciate their bodies, and body appreciation can be fostered independently of improving body satisfaction. So what they're saying there is, even if you don't love the way that your body looks and you don't feel great in your body, you could at least learn to appreciate your body to take care of it. So there's, just go back. So there's negative, neutral, and positive body image. Negative, it could be a little obvious. You don't like your body, you don't accept your body. Most of the time, if you are feeling negative about your body, you're most likely not taking care of it in the way that you should be. And you might think that you might be taking care of it, but it might be disordered behaviors that aren't actually supportive. Positive body image, you could very well like the way that your body looks. It does not mean that you feel that way every single day, but most of the time you are feeling good about your body and the way that it looks, even if it doesn't match up with what society tells us we should look like. And then the neutral is in the middle. You don't necessarily feel negative about it. You don't necessarily feel positive about it. And that's really where the heart of body appreciation is, and where you can learn to at least appreciate the body if you are struggling to love the body. Next slide. So body disconnection, which is very common with negative body image. So how does the body become disconnected? Most often through dieting. Diets encourage us to follow strict rules. It often leads us to ignore our hunger cues, especially, for example, intermittent fasting. It tells you to eat during certain time frames, and sometimes people ignore their hunger purposely because they think it's not good to eat outside of that time frame. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't do intermittent fasting the correct way that it should be done, but that's a different story. So ignoring hunger often leads to ignoring fullness while eating. If anyone has ever heard of the hunger fullness scale, it's a scale of feeling hungry or full, 1 to 10, where 1 is going to be the most hungry, 10 is going to be the most full. And it's very common that if we wait until we get to that very, very hungry, like where we're feeling hangry, we eat to that other end of the spectrum, which we call Thanksgiving full. So it encourages the diet and binge cycle, where we restrict and deprive ourselves. It leads to overeating, possibly binging, then leads to guilt and shame. Then we restrict and deprive again, and it just continues on that cycle. And unfortunately, that cycle, sorry, can you go back? Unfortunately, that cycle does lead us to lose trust in ourselves, our choices, and our bodies. So especially people who cycle from diet to diet, they develop all these different food rules and behavior rules from all the different diets they've tried, and then they just feel very confused about what they should actually be doing to be healthy. Other than diets, we may disconnect from our body related to trauma, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental. So we just kind of disassociate from ourselves. And some example statements of body disconnection: I'm hopeless, I hate my body, I can't stick to anything, I'm a failure, my body isn't cooperating, and I can't control myself around food. Next slide. Body shame is another thing that could be experienced with negative body image. Shame in general is the intense, painful feeling or experience that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. It is a universal human experience. So unfortunately, when we are feeling shame, we feel like we're alone. And it's definitely important to remind ourselves that we're not alone. Everyone experiences shame. And sometimes that can just make it feel a little bit easier to handle. Specifically, body shame is to criticize someone based on the shape, size, or appearance of their body. And the shame component is the number one feeling contributing to the disconnection from our bodies. Because if we're feeling shameful about it, we don't want to be connected to it. But it does create an opportunity to build resilience and cope with the shame. So learning to get over it and better ourselves. Next slide. negative health behaviors associated with negative body image. And I do want to point out that negative body image does not only affect people with eating disorders. I know sometimes people think that they have to have an eating disorder to have negative body image, but that is not true. Literally anyone and everyone, whether they're healthy or not, can experience body image issues. So looking at behaviors related to food with negative body image, it can lead someone to trialing a variety of fad diets. So the couple that are pretty mainstream right now, keto and intermittent fasting. People might resort to extreme dieting or fasting, which both are not going to be supportive of good health. People tend to skip meals thinking if they eat less, they're going to lose weight and look better. But unfortunately, meal skipping does not support a healthy metabolism. Not eating enough, taking dangerous supplements, for example, fat burners could be something that people really catch on to. Maybe recurring overeating, mindless eating, binge eating, which could be related to restricting your food intake or not eating enough. Maybe eating to numb or distract yourself, eliminating foods or entire food groups, compensation for overeating or just eating in general. Compensation could be over-exercising, maybe forcing someone to throw up, or also taking laxatives to try and promote a bowel movement. And of course, there could be an increased risk of eating disorder. Then it can also affect exercise. Can you go back, please? Thank you. So related to exercise, people might be over-exercising or ignoring signs of burnout. And sometimes people really like to wear that as a badge of honor, that they're over-exercising or exhausted from how often they are exercising. People tend to ignore bodily injuries due to the fear of gaining weight if they stop exercising to heal. Sometimes people completely avoid exercise because they don't want to see their bodies, or they're using the exercise to compensate for eating or overeating. Next slide. Social behaviors. People avoid social activities, celebrations, or special occasions, avoid friends and family, isolating themselves, and avoiding social and professional support. That could all be related to not wanting to have their bodies be seen, not wanting to be commented on their bodies. Maybe they don't want people to see the types of foods that they're eating, or if they're on a restrictive diet, not wanting people to know about it. Some mental behaviors that could be associated with negative body image, ruminating thoughts about body weight and value as a person. Unfortunately, when we have a negative body image, we tend to believe that our value as a person is very low, our worth as a person is very low, and we don't believe that we deserve anything, really. We don't deserve happiness, we don't deserve love, we don't deserve health. So a lot of those thoughts can be very ruminating and controlling. We might have irrational thoughts about body weight and value as a person, maybe anxiety, fear, or guilt around your food choices or eating in general, maybe ignoring life problems through distraction and numbing, or obsessively checking the self in the mirror, pinching parts of the body, weighing yourself excessively, all these little things that kind of help you stay in check with your body. Next slide. So who influences our image? There's definitely a variety of influences that can help us, well, not necessarily help us, but promote whether we have a negative, neutral, or positive image. Our family is definitely going to be a major influence because we're always around them. Our friends and peers are going to influence us. Social media is definitely a huge influence, especially today. So if you have kids, it's definitely good to talk to them about their social media and body image and what they're exposed to. TV, magazines, and movies, advertisements, whether we realize it or not, strangers like people at the stores or restaurants or doctor offices. Sometimes people, whether they're trying to be friendly or maybe they're not trying to be friendly, people just always want to make comments about things. Trauma can influence the way that you see yourself, and ultimately we're the ones that interpret all the messages that we receive, so we are also going to have an influence on our own image. Next slide. Dangers of social media. So these are some quotes that came from their teenagers, but it's definitely a good example to kind of see how social media can affect us in the way that we think. So one girl said, when looking at images of girls in a magazine, almost all of us know that they are altered electronically to appear perfect. When it comes to social media such as Facebook, most believe that they are looking at raw pictures or real girls. Whether this is true or not, they are ultimately used as a standard of comparison. And I think we all know that even with Facebook and Instagram, people are altering their photos to make them look better, whether it's just like a simple filter or if they're photoshopping or anything like that. We know people are doing that on social media. People create a fake self. I think that social media platforms hurt because young people are now having their bodies judged online in addition to being judged in person, which causes them to feel trapped, which is definitely very true. It's almost like you just can't escape it these days. And then the last one that really sticks out to me, people get positive attention in the world by losing weight, and you can do it to an even greater extent on Facebook. So it gives us this very easy way to get attention and to get what we think is approval by posting this picture and getting tons of likes, tons of comments. And it just kind of, unfortunately, creates this loop in our head that smaller is better. Next slide. So there's something called the thin ideal, which research has focused a lot of attention on when it comes to body image. And the thin ideal is kind of what tends to be portrayed, especially in society, in the media, in the diet industry. So the thin ideal is a woman who's below the average weight of a typical woman in our culture, and she's always portrayed as successful, desirable, happy. Like, just think about any magazine cover that you could think of. And research suggested that this woman has become thinner and smaller over time. 5'11" and 117 pounds, which the BMI for that is, I think it's 15 or 16, which is considered underweight and unhealthy. And you can see the picture of the women on the bottom. When I was growing up as a teenager, these women were all pretty much the it women, and that's what was promoted as healthy, is being bone thin. Currently, the shift is more towards muscular athletic look for women, as well as thick and curvy with a flat stomach and small waist, which it's not easy to achieve those types of looks, which is that middle picture on the bottom. You do have to spend a lot of time physically working the body, making sure that you are supplying enough nutrition to the body to be able to maintain the muscle you build. So regardless of what the it image is, there's always going to be something. And it's definitely important to point out that men are not immune to these ideals either. There's something called the male ideal, which is lean and bulky muscle, or the superhero effect. So kind of just think about what any superhero looks like. That's what's portrayed to men as ideal and handsome and what women want. Research also shows that weight without a focus of building muscle can also be a negative influence. And it may seem like men experience less issues, but it's just less recognized. Next slide. So what is diet culture? And I know there's, thank you. Diet culture is a system of beliefs that worships thinness and equates it to health and moral virtue, which means that you can spend your whole life thinking you are irreparably broken just because you don't look like the impossibly thin ideal. So this is where the value comes in. We don't value ourselves enough because we don't think we look like what we should, so we think we're not good enough. Diet culture promotes weight loss as a mean of attaining higher status, which means you feel compelled to spend a massive amount of time, energy, and money trying to shrink your body. And a little fun fact, the diet industry is an $80 billion industry. And I don't know about you, but the diet industry has been around for at least 30 years, and we have only seen obesity continue to rise. So obviously the diet industry is not doing the job that it is intending to do. Diet culture also demonizes certain ways of eating while elevating others, which means you're forced to be hypervigilant about your eating, ashamed of making certain food choices, and distracted from your pleasure, your purpose, and your power. It does oppress people who don't match up with its supposed picture of health, which can harm people in larger bodies, all genders, people of color, people with disabilities, and it damages mental and physical health because they feel like they're not represented or they're not matching up to what society is saying good and healthy. Next slide. So unfortunately, there is something called weight cycling, which goes hand in hand with diet cycling. So that could be, it's the repeating cycle of losing weight, regaining weight, losing weight, regaining weight. And the diet cycling is whether you're doing the same diet or bouncing from diet to diet, it's dieting, not dieting, dieting, not dieting. And it goes hand in hand with weight cycling. Research has consistently shown that weight loss through dieting is not only unsustainable, but it also leads to regaining more weight than lost. So the picture at the bottom, there's something called the set weight point theory, that each human body has its own ideal body weight that is pre-programmed in our DNA. And when we try to go against what our set weight point is and try to weigh less than what our body should, we can lose the weight, but research shows that when we regain weight to bring us back to that original set point, which is kind of just what the body wants to do, it brings us to an even higher set point, so that the next time you lose weight, sure, you'll lose weight. It's not going to be as much as you did last time, but it's going to rebound back up and continue creating new set points because you're forcing your body against what it wants to do. Weight cycling itself has shown to be an independent risk factor for cardiovascular disease, inflammation, high blood pressure, and insulin resistance, all things that contribute to weight gain. Biologically, our body experiences the dieting process as a form of starvation. The body shifts into what's called primal survival mode, so the metabolism naturally slows down, and unfortunately, that does increase our food cravings. With each diet, the body learns and adapts, resulting in the rebound weight gain, as well as the new set point. Next slide. So what other things affect our weight? Of course, we all know calories in, calories out, but it's not that simple. So eating pattern and composition is going to be very important. So quality and quantity are definitely important to consider, and making sure that you're not skipping meals, you're fueling your body regularly, because our metabolism needs to have a consistent food pattern. Physical activity affects our weight depending on how sedentary we are, how much we move around regularly. Medication can affect the weight, whether you smoke or not, how much alcohol you take in, socioeconomic status, because unfortunately we do need to have money to be able to afford healthy things to support our health. Different disease states can cause weight loss or weight gain. Of course, pregnancy. Research has shown some evidence that restricting food intake while you're pregnant can lead to low birth weight, which leads to obesity later in life. Our age affects our weight, which unfortunately, as we do get older, our metabolism slows down over time. We lose lean body mass, which is muscle, over time just naturally. And sometimes we just have to accept that that's a part of life and that we're aging. Our gender is definitely going to affect our weight. It is very well known that men have naturally more muscle on their bodies. Women naturally have more fat on their body. Our hormones affect our weight, genetics, our race, and our culture and our upbringing. So there's a wide variety of things that affect our weight. It's not just calories in, calories out. Next slide. So body healing. Healing is not a destination, so saying that you healed your body image does not mean that you're done. You're still going to go through experiences in your life where you're going to be tested. You might have a negative body image day, but you'll know that you've healed when you're able to bounce back from the experience faster than you used to, and it doesn't completely consume your life. So healing is not a destination. It is an ongoing process of navigating challenges of life. Healing creates a strong sense of knowing and being in our bodies, as well as creating stronger resilience. Healing allows you to build a relationship with your life experiences instead of internalizing the experiences to the self. So it's being able to have a negative experience and separate yourself from it and not have it ruin your day, your week, your month, your year, the Friends song. So just not allowing it to completely consume you. So with body healing, it is a spectrum. There's rejection, so refusing to accept. Resignation, where you're ready to give up the rejection and move forward. Acceptance. And liberation, where you just truly feel free from oppression, you feel released. And again, it doesn't mean that you're always going to feel that way. You might bounce back to the other ends of the spectrums, but you're still able to move forward. Next slide. So this is just sharing some positive body image research, some different characteristics that these researchers had found among people with positive body image. So even if they don't fully love the way that they look or they don't match up to society's ideal, people with positive body image are able to be optimistic, so they're able to see things in a more positive light. They have better self-esteem, which research is really focusing more on self-compassion compared to self-esteem, which is a whole nother topic to talk about, but I do recommend looking up self-compassion. They have better social support from their friends and their family. They feel that they found people who love and care about them. Even if it wasn't their immediate friends and family, they seek out people to provide them support. They have adaptive coping skills, so whether they see a therapist that helps them to cope more regularly or they go to a support group to help cope regularly, but they're not using negative coping skills. And most importantly, positive body image research has shown that people are able to maintain a stable weight, and research definitely supports that even if you're overweight, if you're able to have a stable weight, that's going to be better for your health compared to weight cycling. They also found favorable opinions of body regardless of actual appearance, acceptance of body regardless of weight, shape, and imperfections. People respect their body by attending to its needs and engaging in healthy behaviors, even if they're overweight or don't like how they look. And they're able to protect themselves from what's in the media. So they're still going to be exposed to the thin ideal, but they don't feel like they're affected by it or triggered by it. Next slide. Some different ways to start embracing your body. There's definitely hundreds of ways to do this, but these are some simple ways to do it. Appreciate everything that your body can do for you. And that could be being thankful that your legs are able to walk you up the stairs to get to your office at work. Or maybe you're thankful that your heart is beating and keeping you alive. Remind yourself that true beauty is more than skin deep. Surround yourself with positive people. Shut down negative voices. So start recognizing negative thoughts that you have in your head or ones that you're exposed to either on like social media or people around you. Figure out how you could start to change those voices within yourself and around you. Become more critical of social media and the messages it's trying to send to you. Maybe you need to unfollow certain accounts. Maybe you need to unfriend people or mute people and start following more positive things. Remember to look at yourself as a whole person. You are not just a body, you are a human being, and you have a lot more purpose in this world than just the way that you look. And engage in self-care. And that could be something as simple as brushing your teeth every day, or it could be as fancy as getting yourself regular massages. Next slide. So 5 positive affirmations just to remind yourself that you are worth it. I am unique. I feel good about being alive and being me. I observe my thoughts and actions without judgment. When I breathe, I inhale confidence and exhale uncertainty. Every cell in my body vibrates with energy and health, and my home is a peaceful sanctuary where I feel safe and happy. We wanted to include some different positive resources, so this is a PDF that I could send out if anyone's interested in it. So it just has some different Instagram accounts that promote positive body image, healthy eating, healthy exercise. There's apps that are either for meditation, positive food tracking, building better body image, and then as well a variety of different books all on the same topics, and they're all written by professionals who are either in the nutrition field or the psychology field, and they're all really excellent resources. Next slide. So in conclusion, body image can affect anyone. It can influence a variety of our behaviors and get in the way of our health. And our health depends on much more than just our weight and or bodily appearance. So remember that your body is your vessel that carries you through life to be your truest self. And I know that probably sounds corny, but it's true. We only get one body in life, and it is our responsibility to nurture it physically, mentally, and emotionally. And we are all worth that. That's it.
Thank you, Danielle, for that great presentation. If anybody has any questions or any comments about the presentation, you can enter them in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We'll wait a minute or so just so you can get those in there, and all of your questions and comments will be anonymous. All right, great. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Once you exit the webinar, you'll be redirected to complete a brief survey. If you could please complete that, your feedback is extremely important to us and helps us plan our future webinars, and it'd be great to give Danielle some feedback as well. If you'd like to view previous HealthyU webinars, you could view them on our website at matherhospital.org/HealthyU. Great presentation and very informative. They want to know if the slides will be available. Danielle, are you okay with me sending these slides out?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, great. So you guys will get that in an email along with a link to complete the survey for today. Thank you again for joining us, Danielle. That was great. Everybody enjoy the rest of their day.
Thank you. You too.